This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream and Nebula. Central Park is one of the most iconic parks in the world, and one of the most filmed locations on Earth. It also helped jumpstart the global movement for large public parks in cities. Central Park deserves its own video, which is why I created one about it on Nebula that launches with this one. It's a part of my Great Cities series, which has so far covered Paris's boulevards, the plan for Canberra, and Shanghai's metro system. New videos in the Great Cities series drop every month. They're longer and higher quality than the videos you find on YouTube, and ad-free. Sign up on Nebula so you don't miss any. The World Cities Culture Forum maintains a list of cities based on the percentage of land area dedicated to open space within its borders. Some cities like Oslo, Vienna, Edinburgh, Singapore, and Sydney have over 45% of the city's land area dedicated to open space. Others like Melbourne, Tokyo, Taipei, and Bogota have less than 10%. Istanbul has only 2.2% of its land area dedicated to parks. Istanbul's parks have been under siege for years, eroded by development in an already park-starved city. In 2013, plans to replace Gezi Park with a shopping mall sparked civil unrest in Turkey. Protesters staged a sit-in at the park, and the wider protests involved 500,000 people, as the issue of the park snowballed into larger issues around free speech and the erosion of secularism in the country. Authorities in Istanbul are looking to add park space, however, and the most ambitious proposal calls for the transformation of the now vacant Ataturk Airport to be converted into a massive park. It remains to be seen if the park will be developed, however. Obviously, devoting too little land area to parks is a bad thing, and in Istanbul's case can literally spark riots. But is there an optimal amount of park space? Should every city be like Oslo with 68% green space? It doesn't seem like the lack of green space is holding back cities like Melbourne and Tokyo, large, wealthy cities with a high standard of living.
The truth is that not all parks or park systems are created equal. Parks can serve different functions. So let's learn how to design great urban park systems after the bike bell. Let's say that you're a parks planner in a place like Istanbul that doesn't have enough parks. How do you go about adding more? It's actually a pretty complicated question because there are many competing interests, and it can seem easier just to ignore them.
Sir? Sir, are you listening to me, sir? Sir, I'm talking to you!
When we think of urban parks, we probably think of grass, trees, benches, here in the US maybe a baseball field, but that's increasingly an outdated stereotype. Let's take a look at urban park history to understand where that stereotype comes from.
There weren't really urban parks as we would recognize them today 200 years ago. Not that cities didn't have some form of open space. Boston Common is a great example. It's the oldest urban park in the United States, first established in 1634. At the time, Boston had about 4,000 residents, and it was used as a communal grazing area. Cows could be seen in the park until 1830. Gradually, the uses changed over time. Part of it became a cemetery in 1756. Boston Common also became a military drilling ground, but by the mid-1800s, the idea that cities should have true parks became more popular. Urban reformers believed that they could improve the health of residents. At the time, Industrial Revolution cities were polluted and extremely crowded. Parks provided fresh air and a relief valve from the overwhelming density. Some even believed parks could provide for improved mental health by having humans return to nature. Early on, parks accommodated passive recreation, strolling, picnicking, and enjoying the scenery. Landscape architecture pioneers Calvert Vaux and Frederick Law Olmsted popularized pastoral landscapes in urban parks to again bring the natural back to the city. Olmsted designed Boston's Emerald Necklace, an influential and beautiful urban park system that includes Boston Common.
Times change, and strolling, picnicking, and birdwatching are only some of the activities people like to do in parks today. Nowadays, people like to do soccer, volleyball, and activities we call active recreation.
Present-day Boston Common has dedicated areas for baseball, tennis, ice skating, and room for pickup soccer and frisbee. Today, many US cities operate under a mid-20th century suburban idea for park system design. This is where the stereotype comes from of neighborhood parks having a few sports fields, a playground, and some benches and picnic tables. Perfect for suburban kids to play Little League baseball games and hang out on the swings. Tastes have changed yet again, though, and people today expect to have places to play disc golf, take a yoga class, grab food at a food truck, and splash at a splash pad.
But one activity that really highlights the changing nature of recreation is pickleball.
Tennis courts have long been a traditional park staple, but lately America's fastest growing sport has been taking over the courts and causing friction between players from both sports. Parks and recreation departments are often underfunded and unable to build pickleball courts fast enough. Vox recently posted a great video about this topic. There's a link in the description. Pickleball courts are going up in cities, particularly in neighborhoods with older and wealthier populations.
So the lesson here is that every city that needs more parks should just add more pickleball courts. No, not really.
Tastes are different in different neighborhoods and often influenced by local culture, income, and the presence of other amenities. A public pool may not be needed in a neighborhood where everyone has one in their backyard, but would be a very welcomed amenity where that's not the case, for example.
With so many different types of parks, it's hard for planners to talk about them collectively. And this is a real problem because planners have to plan for the maintenance of existing parks and the design of new parks in a park system management plan.
At the same time, parks are often one of the first places where cities cut budgets, as they're seen as less important than other critical systems.
We need to cut expenditures by 32%.
Let's make it an even 40.
Oh, that's not necessary.
Slash it.
That's unfortunate because they provide places for exercise, helping to improve the health of nearby residents. And they're a form of democratic recreation, open to all. This means that a low-income resident can derive the same value from a walk in the park as a rich resident. Parks are particularly important community gathering spaces and amenities for low-income residents. Well-maintained parks also have been shown to reduce local crime and juvenile delinquency.
With all the different uses and different benefits of parks, it's essentially impossible to boil them down into one number, percentage of land area. That's why I don't take much stock in them. For one thing, they don't even define city the same way.
For example, Los Angeles looks like it has way more parks than San Francisco, but they only measured the city limits for San Francisco, while they used the entirety of Los Angeles County for LA.
Percentage of land area still may be useful at the extremes. I mean, nobody's going to argue that Istanbul has a better park system than Oslo, but they don't really capture the nuance of active versus passive recreation, for example, and planners don't even use that number to plan parks.
Instead, the need for parks is most often expressed in two ways. First is the amount of park space per person. There's no magic number here. Here in California, the statewide recommendation is 3 acres or 1.2 hectares per 1,000 people. In the city I live in, they like to be overachievers, and that number is 10 acres or 4 hectares per 1,000 people. They even break it down by type of park. For each resident, there should be at least 3 acres of community parks, 4 acres of neighborhood parks, and 2 acres of recreation facilities. The second way park need is expressed is through residents' distance to parks. Parks aren't as useful if they're located on the edge of the city, far from where people live. Again, in California and where I live in San Luis Obispo, the goal is to have a park within a half mile or 800 meters of all residents. Oslo, the park city, has a goal of getting 95% of residents within 300 meters of a park.
The focus on getting all people to live close to a park is a response to the fact that historically that wasn't always the case. Generally speaking, low-income and people of color were often farther away from parks than higher-income white residents.
Studies on this topic show that areas with higher rates of poverty or higher proportions of people of color tend to have less park access and lower park quality. On average, predominantly white communities have 44% more urban park area per resident than communities that have a higher population of people of color. Similarly, low-income neighborhoods have 42% less park space per resident than higher-income neighborhoods. This means that low-income and minority neighborhoods have more urban heat due to the lack of green space and don't provide the same health opportunities as neighborhoods with more parks. Equality is actually one of the main reasons why Washington, D.C. is now considered the city with the best park system in the US. All demographics have about equal access to nearby parks within the city.
So far, we've talked a lot about active versus passive recreation, the amount of parks per person, and the distance to parks. But we need to talk about one more dimension, the size of the park itself.
Local or neighborhood parks tend to be smaller and located in more urban settings. Like the name suggests, regional parks are much bigger and are intended to meet the needs of more people in a larger geographic area. These can take the form of state parks or county parks, and typically exist to offer greater special recreational uses, like camping and hiking, or to showcase the area's natural beauty and history. Regional parks can also protect valuable habitat for critical species and play a role in stormwater treatment and retention. These type of parks are important, but are not generally used every day, so it's assumed that most people not live very close to these and will need to travel a somewhat larger distance to visit the park. Local parks are smaller and primarily meet the day-to-day needs of nearby residents. They can range from anywhere from a small open space to a playground to a public community garden or a pocket park. Since they would generally be used more frequently than a regional park, local parks should be a main priority when determining if a city has enough green space.
If you're a park planner in Istanbul or any one of the US cities that are underparked, this can all seem pretty daunting. It's difficult to plan a park system that serves the many needs of all residents equitably. But for those that do, the reward is a network of parks that makes it really pleasant to spend a morning in, say, making a YouTube video.
I will say that park planners and all viewers of this video should check out my short documentary on Central Park. In it, I take you through New York before Central Park all the way to the finished park, detailing the key features that make it a groundbreaking place. This is just one episode of my Great City series, and you can find them all on Nebula.
Nebula is creator-owned, meaning that by watching videos there, you're actually supporting me more than by watching videos here on YouTube. And you get access to so much exclusive content I've produced. There's a lot of it, trust me.
In fact, I did a Nebula exclusive video on Parks and Recreation, the TV show. In addition, you have creators like Wendover Productions, Real Life Lore, and Real Engineering posting incredible exclusive content on Nebula. My entire family is hooked on Wendover's Jet Lag series, which is the best show if you like wholesome reality TV mixed with train travel, and that's me. Now, if you go to nebula.tv directly and sign up, it will cost you $5 per month or $50 per year. But if you go to the link in the description and sign up to the CuriosityStream bundle, you'll get Nebula for free. CuriosityStream is running a deal right now where you can get an entire year for less than $15. Again, that $15 saves you $35 off the cost of Nebula. Even better, you'll also be getting access to CuriosityStream, chock full of high-quality documentaries like this entire series on New York City, a perfect complement to my Central Park video. There's even an episode on New York's parks.
So the best way to support me and get a great deal is go click on the link on screen or in the description and go sign up to CuriosityStream.
You can sign up for the lowest cost plan. When you do, make sure to enter my channel name so I get credit. Then you'll receive an email to join Nebula. Make a password and you're good to go. You'll be watching the Great Cities series and all of the other great Nebula content for the low price of less than $15.
Thank you so much for your support.